Hello, Phil Swann here again with another episode of Together, where we look at good mental health, well-being and the Christian hope. The resurrection appearances of Jesus, the initial ones anyway, are actually framed for us in the Gospels in a very pastoral way. I don't know if you realise that. What do we mean by pastoral? Caring, understanding, and applying the news that he is alive to troubled people. Grief is a terrible thing. It is a mighty power. And if you've lost somebody close to you, or maybe even some things that was of great value to you, and you've lost it in the sense that they've gone, really gone, you know something of what I mean when I say grief can be really, really powerful. It can be disorientating. Suddenly the world looks very, very different. We find ourselves trying to work out how will we go forwards now that we've lost this person who meant so much to us. It can confuse us, and the world can become a frightening place, as well as the emotions, or sometimes just the lack of emotions, that grief imposes upon us. Maybe right now you're struggling with grief. One of the really helpful things when you're grieving is, of course, to grieve. Jesus sets us a great example of this. When he arrives at a village called Bethany, and as he gets there, the news is that one of his closest friends, a man called Lazarus, has died and been buried. And it's there that we read, Jesus wept. He is moved with compassion for the people around him, but he is not afraid to grieve. And we should not be afraid either. Any culture that despises grief, or any culture that hinders the expressions of grief, is ultimately an unhealthy culture. So grieving is important, and we grieve in different ways. We may grieve by talking, we may grieve by weeping, we may grieve by just wanting to be alone, doing things differently. But it's okay. Grief is like emotional bruising. In the end, it will come out. And perhaps one of the most healthy ways is to embrace it and allow it to come out. Grief is often the way in which we express how much we love the one we mourn. So be patient with yourself as you grieve. And within that process, keep an eye out for the memories that empower. Yes, we may mourn, and we will, what is lost. But you will always have memories which can give you fortitude, courage, and strength as you move forwards. Look for them. They can be like tiny, sparkling diamonds in the middle of a vast, underground, dark tunnel. And when you see them, mine them out. Hold them precious. It's the legacy of that person to you as you step slowly into the future without them. Mary Magdalene was the first person to arrive at Jesus' tomb on what we know as Easter Day. She went there expecting to find the tomb sealed up and Jesus' corpse in the tomb. And you know the story probably. When she arrives, the stone has been rolled back. The body is missing. And she is just filled with questions. The grief is still there. The confusion intensifies. There is utter bewilderment. She doesn't know who to turn to or what to do, until in that moment she spots a man who she assumes is the gardener. And the only conclusion she has on the situation is that somebody has taken the body, and she appeals to the gardener. If you know where they've taken him, let me know, so that we can go and get him. It's almost as if insult to injury, not only have they killed Jesus and put him in the tomb, now they've stolen his body. But within all of those moments, suddenly her grief is turned to amazement and delight as she hears from the one who she thinks is the gardener one word. And wonderfully, it's her name, as he says, Mary. And in that moment, she realizes this is not the gardener, but this is Jesus. And she returns eventually to the other disciples with the wonderful news, I have seen the Lord. The best news in the world was staring her in the face. The tomb was empty. The body had gone. She knew about what Jesus had said previously about rising from the dead, but she had not been able to assemble these things together, overcome by grief and the distortion that it brings. She needs Jesus to help her rethink what has happened. And that's what he does as he calls her by name, Mary. Often in the tangle of grief, our thoughts become chaotic, and we need help to rethink and order them. Talking to a friend can be really helpful, but bringing our fears and our grief to Christ can be gloriously transformative. We're invited, because Jesus has been raised from the dead, to rethink all of our losses in the comfort of knowing that he knows, he understands, and he is the resurrection and the life. May God bless you and encourage you today. Thanks for listening. If you found this helpful, like us, share us on social media, so maybe others can benefit as well. God bless.